spectroscopy. Earlier we have done shielding, de-shielding of protons. Now we know that all the protons show their signal between 0 to 10 ppm, and scale is thus, that is 0 starts from here and scale is from right to left. Generally all the signals are present between 0 to 10, and the different protons are shown in different region, that is TMS, that is tetramethylsilane, as we have already discussed, show its peak at 0 due to 12 equivalent protons, and then CH3, CH2 or CH protons all show their signal from 0 to 2, and then the protons which are attached to benzene ring or NR2 group or sulfur or to alkyne group, alkene, all or ketone group all show their signals from 1.5 to 3 ppm, and then alcohols and amines show in this 0 to 5 ppm, and this protons attached to fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine or oxygen or NO2 groups also show the signal from 3 to 5 ppm, and the protons which are attached to double bond like this are generally present, show their signal from 4.5 to 7 ppm, and the hydrogens attached to benzene ring, that is benzylic protons, show their signal from 6.6 or to 8 ppm, and the aldehyde protons show their signal from 9 to 10, and carboxylic protons show their signal from 10 to 12 ppm. So we know in general the position of all the protons present in a molecule in a delta scale. Next comes the factor affecting chemical shifts. There are mainly three factors: inductive effect, in which we generally include electronegatividity, and then anisotropic effect, and then is hydrogen bonding. So let's take up one by one. First is inductive effect, that is due to electronegativity. Generally the electron withdrawing inductive group effects is the one of the parameter that affects the chemical shift. So the electron withdrawing groups play a important role in the NMR. The stronger electron withdrawing group decreases the electron density around the proton. As the electron density decreases, there is a low opposing induced magnetic field, so more is the de-shielding. So more is the de-shielding, the signal will be towards the left, that is towards the down field. So if we take up example of electron withdrawal groups, like if there is a present chlorine atom, it will de-shield the electrons. So the electrons around the proton will be shifted towards this carbon, and this in turn are withdrawn by chlorine. So the electron density around the proton is taken away from by the carbon and in turn by chlorine, and this makes the de-shielding of proton, due to which this proton will feel external magnetic field and will show signal towards the left, that is downfield. So if we take up different groups attached, so if whether it is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, we easily see that this is a strong electron withdrawing group, more electronegative. So in this, the signal is towards the signal is around 4.5, that is towards left, and chlorine is less electronegative, so 3.5, bromine is still less electronegative, so around 3.4, and due to iodine it is around 3.2. So the protons directly attached to the electron withdrawing group are shifted towards the left due to the electronegativity of the element. So greater is the electronegativity of the element, greater is the shift of signal towards the left, that is towards the downfield. So in general, when atom is placed in the magnetic field, its electrons circulate about the direction of the applied magnetic field, and this circulation causes small magnetic field at the nucleus which opposes the externally applied field, and this small magnetic field is induced magnetic field, and which pulls the electron from hydrogens. So the electronegative elements causes withdrawal of electrons, and by which the down field of proton signal takes place. So electronegativity dependence is more clear by taking up this examples, that is this compounds CH3X in this fluorine, in this, if element X is taken, that is fluorine, oxygen, Cl, Br, in this hydrogen, silicon, then we see that the signal is at around delta value due to halogens is 4, 3.5, 3.1, 2.8, 2.5, 2.1, 1.8, and the chemical shifts, that is most deshielded will be, because fluorine is most electronegative, 4.26, and due to this 3.4 oxygen, and this 3.05 due to bromine, 2.68, 2.16, 0.23 and 0. So the as the electronegativity decreases, this is most electronegative and so on, it decreases, the deshielding increases in the opposite direction. Deshielding increases with the electronegativity of atom. More is the electronegative atom, more is the withdrawal of electron density, and so more is the deshielding. More is the deshielding, down, the signal will be shifted downfield, that is 4.26, then it is decreasing 3.4, it is becoming signal is towards the right, 3.05, 2.68, 2.16, 0.23 and 0. So the inductive effect plays a important role. Now again, if there are 3 halogens, in this 2 halogens, in this 1 halogen, so this will have a greater electron withdrawing effect, so it will be most deshielded, 7.25 in this only 2 halogens, 5.3 in 1 halogen, 3.05. The effect increases with greater number of electronegative atoms, and in this, if the distance increases, the nearest proton will be most deshielded, and then the next protons will be less deshielded, and the third carbon will have still less deshielded protons, 1.25. So the effect decreases with increasing distance. So similarly, if we take aromatic protons, in this the electron donating resonance effect increases electron density at the carbon, and in turn hydrogens are deshielded, as we already know, due to electron donating groups, but electron withdrawing resonance effect decreases electron density at carbon and in turn to hydrogen, so deshielding of protons takes place. If we just take up these examples, in the center it is a benzene, in this no electron withdrawing or releasing group is attached, so in this all the protons will show signal at 7.26 ppm, but when this OR electron releasing group is present, electron releasing group, and it has a positive resonance effect, in this the ortho position protons will be upfielded, and it will show signal as 6.77, and these meta protons will show at 7.15, 7.15, and this para will show at 6.85. As the electron releasing group will have effect on the ortho and para positions, so these will be upfield, show signal at upfield, and these meta positions will show downfield signal. And in this case, this is the electron withdrawing group, so again electron withdrawing group will have more effect at the ortho position, so these are the more downfielded and show signal at 8.19, and the meta positions show 7.52 and the para positions show 7.65. So ortho positions are most affected by the electron withdrawing group. These are the electrons from these positions will be more withdrawn, so these will show downfield signals as compared to the other positions. So 8.19, 8.19, and then para at 7.65, and meta will show upfield signals 7.52, 7.52. So in like this, the electron releasing groups and electron withdrawing groups have a main effect on the position of signal, and this is all about inductive effect. So next is anisotropic effect. As we have already done in shielding and de-shielding, that is, this anisotropic induced magnetic field effects are the result of a local induced magnetic field experienced by a nucleus resulting from circulating pi electrons, as we have done in the benzene and acetylene examples. That can either be paramagnetic when it is parallel to the applied field, or diamagnetic when it is opposed to the magnetic field. So this we have done in two examples, that is benzene and alkyne. If we take just overview, in the benzene, the protons which are present, they are in the de-shielded region, so they show signal at around 7 to 8. But in the alkynes, or say alkene, they show signal, that protons are shielded and they show signal at around 5 to 7 ppm. And in aldehydic protons, they come under the more de-shielded region, so they show at 9 to 10 ppm. And the alkynyl protons comes under the shielded region and they show signal at 2 to 3 ppm. So in this examples we have done in detail in shielding and de-shielding mechanism. So in alkyne, the protons, or we say in general, the region with positive sign is a shielded region, and the with negative sign, this is a de-shielded region. It is a shielded region, this is a de-shielded region. And similarly, this is a plus sign with shielded and it is de-shielded, and this is shielded and this is de-shielded, and this protons are present in the shielded region and this is unshielded. So these are present in shielded region, so they show signal much upfield, that is around 2 to 3. In this they are in the de-shielded region, so at 9 to 10, and this are again in de-shielded region, it is around 5 to 7 ppm. And in this, these are all again in de-shielded region and they show signal at 7 to 8 ppm. So anisotropic effect has a main role in the compounds in which pi electrons are present. So next comes the hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding causes shifts to move to a higher frequency, that is a higher ppm value, that is towards the right, that is downfield, and it is due to the de-shielding. So hydrogen bonding in general causes de-shielding, that is the electron cloud from the hydrogen moves away, and so the hydrogen gets de-shielded and shows signal downfield. And this is, and we can consider in intermolecular and intermolecular hydrogen bonding. In the intermolecular hydrogen bonding, the case is different, and intramolecular it is different. So hydrogen bonding does cause a change in chemical shift. It is often only evident with intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Generally in the intermolecular hydrogen bonding, only the change in chemical shift is visible, and intermolecular, as the name indicates, it is between the two molecules. And where in the intermolecular hydrogen bonding the system is sufficiently stable and chemical shift of proton is consistent. There is no change in chemical shift in case of intermolecular hydrogen bonding. This we can easily show with example. So just go through again. In intermolecular hydrogen bonding there is a change in shift, but in the intermolecular bonding there is no change in chemical shift. This we can see the example of NMR of methanol and hexafluoroacetylacetone, that is. Now this is a example of methanol and this is a second compound. So in this methanol, this is a graph this is a NMR spectrum of pure compound. In this pure compound there's a this is a signal due to CH3 group and this is due to OH group. Now this is due to TMS. Now this is a pure methanol and this is a pure this compound show it's these protons and this is due to OH. Now this proton which is attached to double bond, carbon-carbon double bond, otherwise these are the fluorines and these are the fluorines. So this signal is due to this, and due to OH signal is this small peak. Now when the this compound is added to methanol, now there is a when this compound is added to first methanol, then the hydrogen bonding of this breaks, intermolecular hydrogen bonding breaks, due to which this signal is reduced to a small peak and it moves just to right, and the peak due to CH3 remains the same. Now in this the change in peak is due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding, which breaks due to the addition of other molecule. But in this, because already in this molecule only intermolecular hydrogen bonding is present, so after adding methanol there is no change in the spectrum. So by this example we can easily say that in the molecules in which intermolecular hydrogen bonding takes place, then there is a change in the signal position of signals also and in the height of peak. But in the case of molecules in which only intermolecular hydrogen bonding takes place, there is no change in the position of signals or the height of peak. Or we can easily explain the spectra of neat compounds, that is first A compounds where hydrogen bonding is present. On the bottom the spectra of the compounds with added tetrachloromethane, while the intermolecular hydrogen bonding in hexafluoroacetylacetone is unchanged. We can see immediately that the chemical shift of the hydroxyl proton to move. So in the pure compounds and the compound spectra of compounds after mixing, we can easily identify whether there is an intermolecular hydrogen bonding or there is a intermolecular hydrogen bonding, because in intermolecular hydrogen bonding there will be a change in the position and height of peak, but in case of intermolecular hydrogen bonding there will be no change in position of signals or in the height of signals, which can easily identify whether the bonding present in a molecule is intermolecular or intramolecular. So it's all about the factors, and then we will continue with next topic in the next lecture. So thank you.